fire in the street. Burn, baby, burn. You.
Morning coffee.
You. And sometimes I get off watching you die in vain. It's such a shame, they may call me crazy.
Welcome back from our short year-long break.
If you want to call it short, then sure.
It's been a while.
All things considered, I mean, it's been kind of difficult to be able to converge and talk about this kind of thing. You know, coronavirus is kind of a bitch.
I mean, coronavirus really started like 4 months ago. About the previous 6 months where we did.
Well, you want to be technical, coronavirus started in December of last year. Actually,
stop fucking eating bats, you pieces of shit.
Nobody knew that a bat was going to cause all of this bullshit, but for future reference, stop eating stupid shit.
Just eat ass. Ass instead of bats.
Just stop. Don't tell these people that shit. Don't do that.
Swing it out of the park like a baseball bat.
That's
stop
not...
put it in your mouth and eat some ass.
Stop. No. This is not... We don't eat ass here. We don't do that.
Speak for yourself. I want to eat some ass.
No. My fucking
But welcome back to the Why It Gotta Be Like That podcast, episode 4.
Jesus Christ. It's gonna be a fucking mouthful today.
We, on a serious note though, we've been talking about spurting it back up for a while. A little bit. And we felt like now with everything going on, it's kind of the perfect time for the theme because we've talked about, you know, black and white relations in terms of friendship and how we view it. And with everything going on, it's a pretty seamless transition. If you're going to take basically a year off, if you're going to start back up, now's better than ever if you want to convey a real message. So, I guess we'll start off, Kevin. You've actually have attended some of these protests. What has been your experiences? How many protests have you gone to?
I've been to, well, okay, technically I've been to the same protest multiple different times over in Atlanta. I've been to a different protest probably like 4 minutes away up the road over in downtown Dallas. It's a much significantly smaller protest, but the thing about it is it still rises the influence too, because now people are aware of the situation happening in the area. There's also rumors to be spread that there's one going on, or there's one soon to be going on over in Hiram, probably around like where that Walmart is. There's just so much shit and it's starting to spread influence from Atlanta, and it's just starting to expand from there. And I will say, it's a different environment all the way around. Of course, you're going to have different type of people that don't particularly approve, but generally speaking, whenever I go to these protests, these people are, like, incredibly outnumbered.
What do you mean, outnumbered? Who's outnumbered?
The people who, like, basically anybody who doesn't really approve of wanting to end the bullshit going on right now.
So you don't get that many people basically coming up to your group of protesters basically saying you guys need to stop.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Most of it's been positive.
As a matter of fact, it's been a lot more positive than I was expecting it to be. And I want to put this out for everybody right now. Not all of the protests that you see or participate in are going to be like what you see on the news. They're not all fucking hectic. People aren't always beating the shit out of each other. Cops aren't always punching the fuck out of people with riot shields. And as a matter of fact, they actually disbanded 5 different police agencies in Atlanta, and they said that they would no longer be attending any more of these protests for this particular reason. So before you start flying up the handle and saying, oh, people are still getting beat the shit out of, I mean, yeah, they probably are in certain other places, but they only publicize the things that they want you to see.
What's today's date? June 14th?
Yeah.
So last night, actually, I drove through Atlanta, like actually the Atlanta, you know, downtown. You know, near the Coca-Cola factory, all that stuff. Like.
Okay.
And there's a few protesters outside. You know what? For the first time, I've driven through Atlanta plenty enough times. On a Saturday night, it's probably about 1, 2 a.m. You know what I don't see any of? I didn't see not one single cop. Cop car, cop walking the street, nothing. I think, well, there's no thing. My belief is the cops are trying to protect themselves at this point. I think they realize that they're outnumbered. The world is against them based off, obviously, you know, we don't need to get into, obviously not all cops are bad, that's not the point here. But I think what it's starting to realize is people are starting to realize the power that your word and protesting actually matters. I'm not gonna lie, not before this, but in the past, like when I was young, I used to think protests were like, what can they really do? People outside just yelling something like to a corporation or whatever. What is that really going to do? And what I've seen over time through probably the past 5 or 6 years is what you see is more of when people are fed up with shit and they're willing to fuck up shit that fucks up these corporations or people with power, they will feed into what you want and what's really needed, not even what you want. This is just what the world needs. They will feed into that because they don't want to lose any money. We destroy their buildings. They realize that fucks up their money. So they would rather have equality and they still make their profit. And so that's why when people are complaining about, no one wants to see burning buildings, the looting and shit, obviously, those are a small percentage of the bigger picture. But at the same time, it's been 400 years, but really, we'll just stick past 50 years. We just be more recent. Past 50 years.
It's just with the longer that it goes on, certain things are alleviated, but not everything is brought to full attention, and not everything is completely remedied. That's why at one point, yes, there was slavery. Then slavery was dealt with through emancipation, and now the typical black people are able to live in regular households and earn themselves a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly monetization. However, at that point, there were still different complications that they had to live with. Systemic racism was still a thing. It was more prominent in the southern region, and segregation was a thing. Certain people to this day still seem to think that a lot of that's bullshit, and a lot of that doesn't really affect the community that we live in right now. And people are still actually undergoing a lot of the traumatic stress that came from all that too. There's not a full recovery from what happened beforehand. And people don't seem to realize that either. It's just, when you alleviate something, don't expect it to be an immediate fix. Expect it to be able to be mended over time, but do not say that the conflict has been completely resolved. I will say one thing. There are, with the people that I've seen going to these protests, and I do mean the protesters themselves, not everybody, but people will usually go there for different purposes. Some people want to go there with the idea of being able to end racism. I mean, I appreciate the concept at hand, but I don't believe racism itself is going to be able to end. The concept of racism is going to be a very strong factor that probably lives on for a very long time. It is possible to be able to kind of, again, alleviate racism and make it a little bit less than what it is, because racism can be taught. And if you remove and completely eradicate the things that make people think that one race or one side is lesser than another one, then we'll be able to get rid of that mindset. There are other types of protesters that want to go there for the benefit of everybody and to try to end things like police brutality, because it is a horrible aspect that kind of carries on, and not necessarily just the U.S., but everywhere. But there are people that believe that the police themselves have been given way too much authority to be able to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, and get away with whatever they want. And they're not particularly wrong either, because you'll go around and you'll see people getting beaten the fuck out of, or shot senseless and beaten senseless and killed on the street without even so much as a fucking slap on the wrist. They'll be back to their job the next day with a little, hey, don't do that. You really shouldn't do that anymore. You can keep your badge. You can keep your paycheck, but tomorrow we gotta talk about this. I'm just saying, that's pretty much the way it feels whenever you hear it from the other side of the community that's not wearing the blue. You have no idea the weird sense of discomfort that you get when you get pulled over by a cop and you cannot predict the next thing that's going to happen. I understand it's weird from the other side too, because when you pull somebody over, you don't really know what they're capable of, what's on their mind right now, if they have any contraband on them, and what they're willing to do to escape your grasp. But lethal force should never be necessary, no matter what the circumstances. If your duty is to protect and serve, then do exactly that. You can't protect something that's dead.
I hope the FBI didn't look at what I searched up, but
I feel like there's some porn in that.
Oh no, I mean, obviously. Honestly, they should be welcome that they look at the shit I look up for porn. You're welcome.
I don't think that's...
But, for about a week ago, I went on the official KKK website. Because, like, obviously we know what KKK, we know where they stand.
Yeah.
But I was expecting to see a bunch of racial epithets, the N-word, blah, 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 a bunch of kill by, and obviously you understand that they hate certain religions, black people, Latino, anyone that's not white, essentially.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't believe what they believe.
Yeah.
When I was reading, you realize how prevalent they still are. Like, they can't really be violent anymore. Like, they can't just go out and kill people. I'm pretty sure it still happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but obviously not like the 50s. Shit like that, where they could just go execute and lynch people and just burn buildings up and shit like that, and nothing happened to them. But, like, they have a web. You go on there and literally see. I remember when I looked at it, it said, June 6th, Boston, Massachusetts, meet here, blah, blah, blah. But I was reading more of the whole page, and some that relevant with me on a personal is how much they really hate mixing races when it comes to families and stuff. Like, when you start mixing families of colors. When I read that section is when I really started to see, like, wow, like, it's not independent. They just don't want people to unite together. It's like they don't necessarily don't want black people on the earth. What they want more than anything is just not to affect their supremacy type of thing. And it goes on a deeper level when you go on the website, you see specific people who are still in positions of power. I want you to look up, I'm pretty sure more people were, David Duke. I was aware of him before. He used to be one of the head, quote-unquote, wizards of the KKK. And now he's in a Senate or a House of Representatives position in the state of Louisiana, which is prevalently, essentially, I would probably say, predominantly black state. More or at least it's equal in terms. I haven't looked up numbers, but when you have people in the positions of those powers, this guy literally 20 years ago was wearing the outfit, rallying these people. An organization that directs hate. And this is someone that has a vote in Congress, that has a vote in a state of something of importance. When they pass bills that could equal to equality, this man is voting on that shit. That, like, don't just look at, we obviously know Trump doesn't really have to say it. He says enough without saying anything. His silence speaks exactly where he stands. I don't really get into politics because people that say this is a political issue, it's not. It's not a Democratic, Republican. If you voted for Trump, the problem is not you voted for him. The problem is that you can't even acknowledge that, you know what, I may have fucked up on that one. It's okay to vote for someone and notice at the end term, this is, you know what, I made a mistake. This is not what I thought of before. Even though there was history and mountains of evidence of what this man did before he's president. Let's say you gave him the benefit of the doubt. What this man has done in charge, if you can't look past that because you feel like your vote is indoctrinated in something and you can't even admit that you were wrong and you just think that, oh, I have to stick by someone no matter what because he's a president. No, you don't. If that's not what you voted for, if they have shown to not give a shit about equality or human simple rights, that's a you problem.
Thing is,
this isn't a political, this isn't about medical policies. I don't care that the economy has fucking grown. This is beyond the economy. When you vote for someone, that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge that you voted, that this is not what you voted for. Because if you keep on backing this person up, you are basically saying you do not give a two fucks about other people's lives other than your own self-interest. And if you can't look past it yourself, that's, again, beyond politics. It is. And that's the shit that drives me crazy about this shit, really.
My thing is, like, the concept behind that is, like, it's like you go out and you buy yourself a new car, right? Now, you've heard multiple different reviews from several other people beforehand saying that this car is going to break down no matter what you do to it. You'll have to constantly take it back to the mechanic every week or so, probably even less often than that, just to fix everything that's going to be wrong.
Just buy a 2004 Pontiac Sunfire.
That's way too... No. And let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you want to go up against that word of those people that have told you all that in the first place, and you're just like, I mean, it looks like a nice car. It's orange, it's got this very, very nice like feel about it when I sit on the inside of it. It just makes me feel better when I look at it. So you go, you buy the car anyway. You find out that everybody else that's been talking to you about it was completely right. In 3.5 years into buying this car, I mean, you found out, of course, beforehand that little by little it starts breaking down in certain areas, and you're just like, maybe one problem might not lead to the next, and it inevitably does, and then it just starts to continuously fuck up until it hits boom right there in your engine. Right before your car is about to completely shut down, that 4th year, like everybody else told you that it was going to start fucking up, right there, you realize, damn, this vehicle probably wasn't such a good idea after all. I probably should have listened to everybody else instead of just wasting all of my fucking time, and now I'm stuck with this thing until I'm done paying it off. And now you don't really have a choice. You can definitely acknowledge the fact that you fucked up, but if you're gonna sit there in blissful ignorance and try to solidify the argument that you had when you first bought the car, when you realize now, after having had it for all this time and after having experienced everything that this car is incapable of, you still defend the vehicle, and for what purpose? It's done nothing to benefit you so far. You can say it got you back from point A to point B, but is that really accurate? How much trouble did it give you before you got from one point to get to the next? How much did you have to suffer? How much did you have to endure before you made it from here to get to there? Before you can actually say that your portion of this argument was solidified. That's basically the main point that everyone's trying to get at when it comes to who you vote for, who is the next person that you elect into office. You know beforehand exactly what these people plan to bring to the table, or at least you know what you think they plan to bring to the table. But you want to make sure that beforehand, everything that you believe, everything that you could put your final vote down on comes out to be accurate. I'm like, that's another thing. That's part of the reason why I cannot bring myself into politics either, because there is so much ass backwards
it's beyond politics.
It really is.
It says nothing to do. Because honestly, regardless if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, pedestrian. Oh wait, no, that's a religion. Pedestrian. I was about to say pedestrian, but pedestrian.
A pedestrian, regardless of whether or not you're just walking in the street.
Like, when I think of politics, I think of healthcare. I think of exports, imports. I think of trading. I think of our relationship allies with other countries. I think of economic progression. I think of GDP. I think of I think of things like that you can sign a bill and quote unquote, this is the new policy. I think of policies when I think of politics. I don't think of human rights because we have passed laws where this shouldn't be happening. We have amendments. We have the Civil Rights Act. We have, I don't know all the shit on top of my head, but we have things where everything is legally supposed to be equal. But it's not. Yes. And that's why when people...
I need you to move the car so I can move it in the garage.
Even so, these legal terms also come with loopholes. cleverly plotted loopholes that no matter what we do to try to get past it, someone will try to find a way to get around it. Like, it's like the whole concept of the First Amendment thing. You know, like, you know how people, you can go up to a cop in the street, right? And you should legally be allowed to just walk up to his face and just say, fuck you. Now, granted, yeah, it is a fucked up thing to do. It is a fucked up thing to do. I'm not going to say that it's not. I mean, the guy's just trying to do his job. Why would you just go out in the street just because of the fact that you disapprove somebody? That kind of eradicates the idea of peace. But let's just say you go out and you do it. You should be in your legal right to be able to do so. There's nothing that says that you can't. Why would you need to be arrested for doing so? You can't be arrested because somebody's got hurt feelings. In fact, the thought that they arrest you for it in the first place means that they're violating your First Amendment right. I don't really feel as if anybody should be fucking subjugated and taken into prison for that. It doesn't really make a lot of sense when you get right down to it. It really doesn't. And the fact that they're also trying to pass more laws to not necessarily eradicate, but to severely limit the amount of freedoms that we do have now should tell everybody the state that the world is in currently.
Oh, we're going to take a pause there, a little intermission, and we're going to come back with a part 2 and start on a deeper issue. So stay tuned. And we are back for part 2 of an unplanned part 2.
Oh, jeez Christ.
So, I just want to say fuck you, white people.
Damn. That was quick and straight up to the
And I don't
point.
really mean fuck you, white people. What I mean is fuck you, fake social media justice warriors all of a sudden.
Damn.
Like, okay. Yes, be supportive. Be there, but like the problem is when it comes off as very inauthentic, and the only reason why you're doing it is because it looks pressured or because you want to follow a trend. It comes off as very apparent about that. Like, you can post all the stuff you want, and that's great that you're showing support. It doesn't matter. It's better than nothing. That's not what I'm saying. But if it doesn't follow a pattern behavior you did before all this, when you didn't do it on your own merit, when there was other stuff, when there was other incidents like Trayvon Martin, Emmett Till, Sandra Bland, who was the one in Ferguson? Eric Garner? Was that Eric Garner? No, that was New York. But when all these incidents were happening, if you didn't post nothing, if you didn't voice anything then, don't sit here and try to overcompensate with 6 or 7 posts a day. Because it comes off as really
Forced.
over the top. And it comes off as very like you're trying to prove something to yourself more than you're actually moving the movement type of thing. Like, if people know who you are, then there's no need to overcompensate. Like, again, anything is better than nothing. So I'm not saying don't do it. I've posted some things too. But when I see people that have never posted anything about the matter or anything like that, never even talked about it or wouldn't talk about it in a personal setting, and now they're only doing it because they want to impress their black friends or they want to feel like they're trending on something, it comes off as very disingenuous. So don't try to be a social media justice warrior if you're not really about that action or life, if you don't really care as much as you're letting on type of thing. And it just, when I see it, it just really like, it rubs me the wrong way in a weird way, even though like that's not my place to rub me the wrong way. I just have to think about people being disingenuous and only doing something because they're being pressured or forced into, when you should just want to do it on your own merit. And there have been plenty of incidents before this, and it was completely silent. When I say that, it speaks volumes. Now you gotta start somewhere, but I'm gonna question how genuine it is until it's a pattern behavior over time.
I will say, to some degree, it makes sense as to, depending on the reasoning for why you come out and you decide you want to start posting all of these things to social media. I know that certain people are very, very active in social media. Sometimes they live their entire life and vocally through social media. Sometimes that's basically the only way that you can get the word out. And sometimes you might feel very strongly in the situation. But I've even seen, in most cases, other black people who, what we'll do is like, yes, we do voice our opinion on it. Yes, we do go to social media about it. But even so, we're not as overreactive about it.
Because, I would say the argument for that is because you're kind of numb to it, type of thing.
Exactly. It's just like it's less particularly the fact that we're numb to it, and more the fact that we already knew exactly what to experience. We already knew what was in the cards for us. It's not like we didn't already tell other people the same thing was going to happen in the first place, but this is just the first time that everybody started listening. It doesn't exactly seem out of the ordinary that people would have new responses to it. However, it does seem a little bit out of the ordinary that people would react more so than they would really need to.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, I didn't know. I was trying to say real quick, if I seemed like I was frustrated, apologies. Did not try to seem like I was frustrated a second ago. Just please close the door. That door was wide ass open.
I didn't even know it was open. I didn't leave it open.
Yeah,
This
I know
door?
you did. You came downstairs seeing that.
This door?
No.
Front door.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Not trying to have him run out, as well as I'd rather not have anything come in. If that's cool. So I was just like, damn, I wonder if it seemed like I was just frustrated. I'm sorry. I got off the phone with an annoying ass fucking debate with Cindy, my mom. So I'm just like, at the moment, slightly agitated.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now, basically.
Like, I'm at the point where I'm like, wow, I'm about to go and play cards, and I had totally different plans. Now I'm fucking annoyed, but it's okay.
You're good, man.
Yeah. So, podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, so you went straight up from podcast to now just videos.
Well, we did this
That's what we did
before,
before,
but
yeah.
we just haven't been able to
We took a hiatus.
How do you go to it?
That, my friends, is why you don't leave the door open. Because you're just opening a can of worms. Stop letting the cat out, Kevin. Fuck.
What the fuck? I'm not even the reason for why it happened before.
Why was the door open? Did I leave it open?
Yes, you did. You're the only one that went up to the front.
I thought I closed the door.
No, you didn't.
I thought when I came back, I closed it.
No. This is officially when you first left out and you drove your car away. And you just kind of left that bitch hanging open.
Well, no, I thought someone was behind me, so I thought they were following me.
No.
Honest mistake.
No.
I bet. It's alright. That's what they would call a tangent. But you know, sometimes the best things in life are unplanned, like pregnancies.
Okay, that's a perspective matter.
Just talking about anyone that's ever been pregnant.
I
think
I don't know.
I have a rule.
I don't know about that.
Sidetrack. 80%. No, I would say 95% of pregnancies were not planned, and that's okay. Sometimes the best things in life are unplanned.
I also don't know about that either.
My mom didn't plan any of us, and that's okay. She still loves us. Sometimes I feel like because we were unplanned, she loves us more because we just brought greatness to her life.
Who the fuck do you think you are? Oh my god!
I see my mom 2 to 3 times a week. I make her laugh every time, and I hug her every time I leave. What more do you want? I'm the greatest son on earth. I'm the greater son than the actual sun. Because I just brighten up her day more than a less cloudy day.
Oh my god. Wow.
Shout out to the mothers out there. I think it's Father's Day soon, isn't it? Yeah, something like that. I always forget the day of Father's Day.
So do I, because I don't celebrate it.
Damn. Alright.
But, back to the matter at hand.
For anyone, alright, like, here's the reason why, when people say Black Lives Matter, and someone comments all lives matter, the problem is, yeah. But the problem with that statement is your first reaction when you hear Black Lives Matter is actually, my life matters too. Yes, it does. But, like, for example, it's normally a white person that says that. Your life has never been questioned if it's mattered. There's never been a history in American history itself where that was ever questioned if you mattered. You were never considered 3/5 of a person. You've never had to experience certain things that someone who is a minority has had to experience. That's why when your first reaction is that,
it's kind of offensive.
it's not, everyone understands, yeah, all lives matter except pedophiles. Fuck you if you're a pedophile. Your life doesn't matter to me. I'm sorry. But all lives matter except pedophiles. That's the moral of the story. But if you say all lives matter in a response to Black Lives Matter, what you're saying is, yeah, but my life matters too. Great. No one said yours didn't. No one said that yours didn't.
It's like, typically, like, let's just say we all hold a rally today for breast cancer awareness right now, right? Would somebody else with testicular cancer or somebody who has a family member that has testicular cancer pop by and be like,
balls matter too.
Exactly, like, why don't we just start wearing red wristbands instead of the penguins around here too, because of the fact that my nuts also have something to bring to the table. It's not always about your titties, you know.
Because they're both hanging.
First off, every different form of cancer is going to be malicious. There's not going to be one that's more tolerable than the other. There's not going to be one that's more fun than the other.
They all suck.
They all suck equally. That's the best part about it. They all suck equally. Synonymously, they can all coagulatively suck.
You know, if white and black people united like cancer patients, the world would be a better place.
Wow, that's a shitty way to... I mean, I get what you mean. But
it's a weird fucking thing to tie it in.
But God, that is
no
painful.
one says. But like, here's the thing: like, no one with cancer says, "Yeah, but my breast cancer is worse than your bone marrow cancer."
Yeah, but
like,
no
no
my
one
ass
says that.
cancer is worse than your, like.
It's like my skin. It's like, no, we're all struggling. We all have to go through these rigorous things.
But no one's gonna come out and voice and be like, "Well, you know what, like."
Yeah, but you know,
just because your titties hurt don't mean that I'm not going through it too. Yeah, we get
my
that.
tits matter more than your dick. Like, yeah, well, kind of, yeah, but like, shut the fuck up.
Here's one of the things that really pisses me off the most about like those kinds of people though that pop off the handle and do shit like this. It's just like, one, people that hold protests, and I'm talking about well before Black Lives Matter protests, or I'm talking about like anybody that used to. I don't know, like riot before, like when you look on the news and you see all these different types of riots, you see them over like stupid petty shit, like, oh, I'm having a riot right now because of the fact that my favorite baseball team just lost the fucking MLB League Championship. I mean, it doesn't really seem plausible enough for you to want to start lifting shit and throwing Molotovs into the nearest target, but when you look at the news and you see these cops just standing by idly and doing nothing, and doing absolutely jack shit, I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. They categorize it in an entirely different thing. They even, if you listen to the shit the reporters say, it even sounds different. It's just a bunch of teenagers acting out of pocket, doing something. This is the darker side of sports that you that you don't see very often. Let's change the perspective a little bit, and let's start adding black people to the mix, trying to fight over things that we have been fighting over for years, decades, centuries to this day. I get pissed off by the thought that somebody it never fails. People always bring up the thought that somebody else has gone through this, that, and the third. I get that. I will never try to downtrod anybody else's trauma. I will never say that nobody has ever had it bad in their life before. And I will not say that we ourselves have it worse. But the fact of the matter is, if you feel that fucking strongly about it, why don't you address it? If you do believe that white lives are also being taken more so than the black lives are as well, not saying that there are not also white people and Hispanic people and people of all different races dying every single day to the same shit, but if you believe that so much, why don't you say something about it from your own perspective, about your own race? Just because black people are doing it now, it's a problem? Because of the fact that we are exercising our right to be able to go into the streets and protest. Now it's a fucking problem.
Can I go? Actually, I have comparison. So I have a person close to me. Their father is a police officer. He's black.
Mm-hmm.
He has had to patrol KKK rallies. Meaning,
damn.
No, put it in perspective. He has had to protect the same people that hate him and would wish he'd be dead, but he has to protect them from anti-protesters of the KKK, which I would just call normal human beings. Protect the KKK members for protesting for their right to hate the same person that's protecting them. The irony of that whole situation. Now, let me put that in perspective. Now, we have predominantly black protesters. How many videos do you see of white cops, just of the protests alone, hitting, abusing, shooting rubber bullets, causing chaos? There's thousands and thousands of videos of those out there just off the past couple weeks. Tell me this, when is the last time you've seen a violent KKK rally where you have seen a black cop, or just a cop in general, just a cop in general getting violent with a KKK member? I can honestly say, maybe I'm naive, at least I haven't seen one. I'm pretty sure there's a few out there, but I'm pretty sure the ratio is pretty fucking low compared to what has happened the past couple weeks alone. Think about that for a second. Not because there's black cops out there that are at these protests too, that have them defend and stuff. There's all these videos of these white cops abusing, tear gassing, pepper spraying, hitting, knocking protesters out, even in some cases killing protesters. But at these KKK rallies, where they still happen, and they're still at your capital, they're still in the main cities,
holding rallies and buildings.
How many abusive situations you see those of cops getting physical with those members? I'm just putting that out there. I'm not saying all cops are KKK. What I'm saying is, notice how they treat different groups differently, even though they're fighting for their one is just simply going out there just to protest how much they hate people, and the other is out there protesting so they can stop being hated on. Think about that. I just want you to think about that for a second.
That brings me off to another topic right there, actually, stemming off of that. It brings me to the ideology behind systemic racism and classism. Generally speaking, they're almost one and the same. It's just one is more in perspective to a particular class of human being, while one is in particular to a race of human being. That does not mean that they do not both go hand in hand, though. Both classism and racism do exist widespread, especially among most places in the U.S. And though people will blatantly disregard the idea of that actually being the case, it's like what I brought up before. Just because of the fact that we have ended racial segregation does not mean that we are not still suffering from it. You think about the idea of black people and other people like Hispanic people being put into these shitty ass homes and these shitty ass environments with all this shitty ass education and this lack of funding and all this other stuff.
It just creates a cycle.
Exactly. If we ourselves cannot get out of it then, and we cannot advance, where the fuck do you think we're going to be? Where do you think our families are going to be born and bred and raised? How easy do you think it is to be able to move from point A to point B? Because if you sit there and look at somebody and just say, oh, get a job. Well, if it was that fucking easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be going out getting the best fucking job possible. But there is only room for so many people. There's only room for a particular portion of people. Society is meant to benefit a certain side. And what people don't seem to understand is it might be hidden through our social justice system.
But it's not hidden.
But it's not.
it's like, it's not in wording, but the actions are obvious.
Like, it's like what Clinton brought up earlier. We have rights, basically, to try to condemn, or to try to help us basically bring about equality. But why do we still not feel equal? Why does shit still feel so off-putting to this day? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It does not make any sense when you get right down to it. There is still so much bullshit going on. There's still so much bullshit going on to this day. There's still niggas living out in the ghetto. They're still trying to prosper. They find it very difficult. It's like the idea of, let's just say I give you a chessboard, right? There's a white side in this chessboard, and there's a black side in this chessboard. Both sides are generally supposed to be equal, right? Every side's supposed to have rooks. Every side's supposed to have kings and queens and all this other shit. But let's just say I take out the entire back portion of that board, where your higher portion of where the higher social class system is. They've eliminated the hierarchy to the point where now everybody on the black side is completely the same, and everybody on that side is just one simple rook. They can only move up one piece progressively at a time. But on the white side over here, you've got all this different shit that can move wherever the fuck it wants to at will, with literally no complications whatsoever. That's generally exactly what we're facing. And at any point in time, this one side can be quickly eliminated or quickly eradicated and be replaced by something from the other side. It makes the struggle that much more difficult when trying to advance from one portion of life to the next. And it still tends to create that pressure through generations. If it were that easy to be able to do it, everybody would be.
I think what I've noticed with conversations I've had, which I feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a common thing that they all keep on saying is the whole point of keeping the conversation going, right? Keeping the conversation going, that's great and all. But conversation can only go so far, right? You can keep talking and conversing. A bunch of people now, everyone's talking about it. That's great. It's a start. But conversation without action is just that, conversation. Like, the problem is that there's too many people, like, the whole point is just to keep conversation going. Just keep talking. Like, no, there comes a point where it has to go beyond conversation, and it has to be action take place. Talking about something is great, but it's just that. It's just talking. It's just putting words in the air. And without people capturing those words and making something of it, it's really does nothing. We have a bunch of people talking about it now. That's great. We have white people. We have Latinos. We have black people like, hey, about time, you guys, we've been telling you for a long ass time now. But now it's trendy and cool. And you want to, I feel like one of the problems is Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, and names have become more of a hashtag than a reason for movement. And people want to be more of a hashtag and get more likes and stuff for a hashtag than actually understand the bigger issue. Talking and make a post is great. But if you're not doing something about it, then it's just that. You're just boosting your own self-esteem. See? Honestly, and you're a piece of shit at that point. Your self-esteem don't mean shit to society or actually making lives matter.
That's one of the main influential portions of both sides, actually. It's just the media. People don't really understand how quickly shit can be spread through the media and how quickly people can react to it.
It's like HIV in the 80s.
It's not like that.
With Magic Johnson.
It's not, actually. It's not like that at all.
He gave a lot of people.
I mean, it's not like he created AIDS though and just started spreading it to people.
No, but he fucking trademarked the bitch.
What?
He used to go get a licensing trademark.
Wait. Okay, first off, it's not like he just contracted HIV and just said, you know what, this is mine now.
No, think about it.
This is mine now.
Think about it. It's like Lance Armstrong, right? With this testicular cancer. He now, with his lies and shit and his balls, he raised so much money because of a lie about a lot of shit and the drugs he was taking. But in reverse, he did raise a lot of money. Matt Johnson reverse, like, yeah, he did give a lot of girls a lot of diseases. And his wife still stayed with him. Congrats. But he made that disease that people maybe didn't take so seriously until he announced it. And so, because of him, is why we have the seriousness that we take towards it nowadays. Because of the name he was and his profile. He brought not only awareness, but awareness that not only, it's not just for gay people. Because that was the misconception
that was the
back
stereotype back then.
then. And even some people today, you think like, some people still say you can only get that if you stick it in the booty hole. But like, that's not the case.
It's like saying you can only get coronavirus if you go around and you start eating fucking bats all day.
Batman.
God damn it.
But
stop.
The whole point is, I forgot what the whole point was.
I guess your whole point behind that was, it takes one person to be able to make a difference depending on what you say and how you say it. But make sure there's validation behind the shit you say, and make sure that you're not just saying it for clout. Cause that's one of the, I understand where you're coming from when you say it, when you say it, it's kind of like pisses you off to see that shit on social media.
People look at it as more of a hashtag. People are making people's lives like George Floyd, Emmett Till, Sandra Bland, and
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah. They're making their names hashtags. These are people that lost their lives to this. And their reward to us is, our reward to them is like, hey, we're going to make your name a hashtag. Now, hopefully that changes into actual reform and change. But as of right now, it just really looks like people are using their deaths for a hashtag to gain a bigger following for themselves and to make themselves feel better, but they're using someone's death who lost their life senselessly in all these cases. Just like you said, for some clout. It's really that simple. Like, some people mean well, but not all.
It really do be like that sometimes. There's just a lot of people out there that really only have one motive, and they start voicing their opinion only when they know it benefits them. And by all means, I'm not necessarily saying, oh, don't voice yourself, but if it becomes blatantly obvious the reason for why you decide you want to now start showing your support, then please kindly fuck off.
Not all support is equal.
It's just, everybody appreciates the authenticity. And for those who actually do support not only just the Black Lives Matter movement, but also anybody who supports trying to make this world a better place, then it's always going to be much appreciated for what you're doing right now. And we do hope that we can one day mold a completely different future for not only us, but for everybody that is to come. And so hopefully we can shine down a little bit of light on those who've tried so hard to get us so far. I'm not going to say I expect change, but I do kind of expect change. Whether it be for the better, whether it be for worse. Hopefully better, but I guess we kind of have to see how shit plays out from beyond this point. It's a scary ass time living in 2020. There's so much shit that's just coming out of like literally the fucking woodwork. Every month is a completely different anomaly, the likes of which you couldn't expect. I mean, fucking January, Kobe died. February, we got introduced to COVID-19. By March, quarantine was just like a fucking second nature. By fucking...
Since April, no sex.
Oh, and murder hornets.
There's murder hornets?
You didn't know about that?
I heard about some. I didn't.
Yeah, murder hornets.
I've only been stung by a bee, so like...
That's the thing. If you get stung by this, it will kill you. And then in fucking May, we get advanced racism. It's like regular racism, but this one takes classes on how to be even more racist than before. And now, starting off June, we've got fucking zombie fires.
What's a zombie fire?
A zombie fire is a fire that laid dormant for a very long time, and because of its latency, now comes back with a vengeance and cannot be subdued. This fire can literally not be put out. by anything. You just have to kind of wait until it stops. Oxygen is usually a good enough idea to snuff the flame. Or if you want to do some Ben 10 type shit, you could put another fire right next to this fire and hope one fucking fire counters out the other one. But
or you just put my bars next to it.
Shut the fuck up! God damn it! Why? God damn! It's just like these fires generally start up in more Arctic regions like Siberia and Alaska. It's just. These fires are going to keep on continuously growing and escalating up until either it's a big-ass smoldering pile of smoke or until it snuffs itself out. But there's really nothing you can do to stop the spread. It's what's called a zombie fire. It's a dead-ass fire that came back to life to fuck your day up. That's what 2020 has to offer, and it's not even halfway over yet.
You know, actually, you know how the Mayan calendar, it predicted... December 21st, 2012 is when the world was supposed to end.
Mm-hmm. I think that would have been a little bit off, but...
But, no, now, because there's actually, I believe because when they made the calendar, there was an 8-year, misjudgment. So actually, now they're saying 2020 was the actual year. So this may be it.
If it is it, then I'd much prefer to go out in a blaze of glory from a zombie fire than to have to experience another year like this. If the world doesn't end by like December of this year, then next year, I swear to God, it better be the greatest thing we ever experience. On God, it better be the greatest fucking thing we ever experience. And if it's not, I'm killing myself. Or I'm moving to space.
I'm calling it now. 2021 is when actual God comes out of nowhere.
Well, the second he does, he owes me a new Toyota.
The second he does, we're going to have a sit-down long conversation about life.
Shit! I don't even want to get in that shit right now.
Talk, sir.
I don't even want to get in that shit right now. I feel like I'm old.
As I said, it's like the first thing I do is when I die is I'm going to go, alright God, let's have a seat. Take a seat. I got to talk with you about some shit.
He's going to press the hell button on you the second you walk in there.
Before you send me there, let's have a talk, sir.
Right the second he opens up those pearly gates, he's going to be like, oh, it's Josh. No.
Wait, I just feel like, you're not going to sit here and hear me out.
You spend all that fucking time riding your ass up the escalator to go straight to heaven, only for him to hit the button on you and send your ass straight to hell and get stabbed by a pitchfork in Lucifer's cauldron pot.
As long as Rhea's Grammar is there, I'm fine.
I highly doubt she will be.
Fuck.
Oh, if you, I'm sorry, I didn't really make room for the other guests over there too. If you guys have anything that you would like to say in pertinence to what we've been bringing up, and even if you want to bring up an older topic as well.
So we allowed to speak now?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You've been allowed to speak.
No, I have rights.
Nigga, you told me to sit down and not say nothing.
I said if you wanted to, you can come in and say your piece.
No, when you open the door,
I said,
no.
I didn't actually say words. I didn't say walk in and don't speak. I just said, This
What
does
does
not
that
mean
mean?
shut up in complete silence. It means when you walk in this house, don't be loud as shit and don't be the ignorant ass motherfucker I know you will be when you walk in here.
Well, because you made me upset, so now I don't have a choice.
I don't know if-
Ignorance is how I communicate.
Nigga, I don't care.
Exactly. You
I
don't care.
I don't.
That's
I
my-
really fucking don't.
And that's my problem with society.
Okay,
no
then-
one cares. No one cares about. Wait,
Okay,
I
no.
can't say that. I didn't want to understand the joke. Okay, realistically, when we came in, y'all want to talk about Black Lives Matter and whatnot, and how people are becoming hashtags, and how hopefully that will lead to change. How?
That's the thing. I don't see how.
No one ever
Instagram-
wants to ask how.
Because the problem is, it's too much. It's a whole lot of conversation. It's just like everyone's just like, we just need to have a conversation. It's like, what is having a conversation with an individual going to do about changing anything? Either someone understands it, and maybe you can make them understand it. But okay, that person understands that. What are they going to do to actually stop people from being like systematically oppressed, or being killed by police, or being fucked over by the system? Like, that's the problem. It's just a whole lot of conversation, but if that conversation is just talking, it's just talking in thin air, and it goes nowhere.
My thing is, there have been all kinds of different speculations about what should be done and what will be done in the event that things are able to change. It's like, one of the things that is on everybody's mind right now...
Pause. Since you guys aren't sponsored by Bang, their peach mango Bang actually just tastes like a mango melted over a car battery.
Is that good or bad?
It's not a good thing.
It's just like with
why
energy
would that be
drinks.
a good
Well, with
thing?
energy drinks, you don't exactly expect them to taste that great. You expect them to give you fucking energy. I don't expect
This
Monster
shit
to
right-
taste good when I put
This
that
shit right here slaps.
May I have
God,
yeah,
man.
Now
have a
y'all want to go
suggestion?
get sponsored by Monster. Okay.
And
So I guess you're saying impeach
That's only if they
the
skate.
peach.
No,
thing.
no, I'm not doing it.
I
Don't
didn't-
even, don't even.
Oh my God, I
Don't
didn't-
even.
I'm
Kevin,
not- I
start
didn't.
your sentence back
Oh
up.
God.
Please.
Oh shit.
I'm not with it.
In reality, this
You
kind of
got
is
pizza
your
though.
fault.
Pizza-
This kind of is your
you-
fault.
you wanted to-
Pizza-
you wanted to put a half
peach in my mind or
sponsor.
something
This
like
really
that.
is your fault. You really did do that. This really is your fault. You the one came up here talking about some fucking bang and mangoes and shit.
You said car battery.
This really this
car battery.
This car battery, peach. They're the same thing.
Ooh.
They both provide
My nigga, I charged the battery using only a peach as a science experiment in the 2nd grade.
That's cap.
What's
That is
cool?
not cap.
You
It's
don't
true.
even like peaches.
I do like peaches. Who you lying to?
You don't eat
So hard.
fruit.
I do
I
eat
got a
fruit. Who
question.
you want? I don't eat vegetables, nigga.
So, is your name James?
What's there
Your
are so many
giant peach?
micronutrients he's missing. His vitamins.
I don't need those.
But Kevin, hold on. But
Look how
Kevin,
far in life I've made it without them.
but Kevin, you have actually admitted to me
He just gets
that
he just
you
gets
wish
vegetable flavor.
segregation
No,
still
he gets
existed in some
That
way.
was- he gets
You wanna know why?
flavored Pepsi.
I don't wish segregation necessarily just existed beyond black and white people. I wish it existed among everybody because I fucking hate you niggas.
I was about to say it. I thought you were saying you wish we didn't have segregation, because I was gonna say I wish we did, and I'm glad you agree with me. Because honest to God, I can't stand the look of your ass no more.
It's just
I
like-
really can't. Stand
People really pissed me the fuck off. It's like at least my segregation is indiscriminate because I hate everybody equally. I just want everybody to get the fuck out of my face at the same time, and I don't want to have to deal with you niggas.
I'm
I
mad
don't.
that I came into your house and you were here.
Nigga, I'm mad that you came into my house and I was still here. I'm mad that I didn't have time to leave beforehand. I was still podcasting. I really wish that, like, at some point, me and Clint could have been like, all right, cut, clip. I know AJ gonna be on his way here. He gotta grab his adapter soon to play his bitch ass Switch.
Yeah.
So right the second he pops up, tell him we're gone. Tell him there ain't nobody else here in this bitch. Tell him his AC adapter is not here. Tell him that I don't have it anymore. Tell him I sold it to Cuba.
How you sell it so fast?
Huh?
How you sell it so fast?
Craigslist.
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba.
Scuba.
Diver?
Scuba Steve? Ah!
Get
Yep.
off my back.
So much fucking Gatorade. I didn't even see this.
Is it the blue?
Of course it is.
Kevin, the only thing that bothers me about that
Why don't you?
What the fuck is going on over
Why don't
here?
you just expand your horizons? Why don't?
Wait, what?
What the fuck is this?
Gatorade?
Nigga!
Wait.
We went through this already.
This is for work. I'm not just drinking it for pleasure anymore.
Oh my. I can't stand you, bro.
Okay,
I'm
so-
bad.
Would you like the camera focus on you? Would you like the rant about?
Nah, you got. If you want that camera to go anywhere, they're gonna have to bring their asses over
want-
here. I don't want them seeing
no,
all
No, I can
something.
move it. No.
No, bro, I'm
Do not
talking.
move the camera,
I just-
nigga. Don't move it.
No, I was. If you have something to say, we can move.
No.
I don't have anything.
If they have anything they want to say, they can move their asses over here. We got space on this couch.
It's nothing. It's nothing big. I'm just providing questions for some of the points that you guys brought
No.
up because I'd like them to be elaborated on.
I was just saying, if you want something you want to say, what you think of everything, go ahead.
Well, the thing is, he's already said he wanted to know like what the outcome will be. Like what will be the indefinite change that actually comes out from all the protesting? Like what will be the reason for why we protest if we just want to voice ourselves and have no change come out of it? It's just there will like the resolution that everybody wants to. It comes in different ways. There are certain people that want to that want different reform changes throughout the. They want different reform changes in the government. They want there to be a different form. They want there to be a completely different system change to be able to kind of break down and remodel it so that everybody is equal. And that one in itself will definitely take some time, especially considering who we put in offices, who we elect as governors through states, as presidents over the United States. It's just that one itself is going to be a long-term change. But the fact now is that we're addressing it. We've addressed it now, so we can bring it up again later with different options for how we plan to remedy this in the future. One of the things that everybody is talking about that kind of does have me on a bit of the iffy side is everyone's talking about trying to defund the police. Now that one itself, I don't believe. Okay, certain agencies probably do need to be defunded, but that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be widespread. It does not mean every single
Can I say
police
something?
agency needs to be
I feel
disbanded.
like for police, to completely defund, I think making people that are already mad more mad by taking money out of their salary is going to give them less incentive to actually protect individuals. Even though that's not how it should be. But, for example, like, I believe LA, they're taking $150 million from their police department. And they're putting it into communities and stuff. It's like, okay. So, someone is going to sacrifice that money. And chances are, it's probably going to be police officers and their salaries in some cases. And if you're going to take money away from people who, in some cases, not all cases, but some cases, don't really have the incentive to care for all lives that they're supposed to protect, you're going to take money away from those people and give them even less incentive to put their life on the line.
No.
I think that's where you're going to start getting police officers like really getting in the muddy, shady territory, because it's like, I'm not getting paid enough for this shit now.
I have my thing is, I have a different philosophy on that. I don't believe, like I said, I don't believe that every single one of them should be defunded, because that kind of just sounds like, at that point, who the fuck
I'm
would
not
be able
saying
to call
defunding, use fucking common sense. Don't kill people if it's not necessary.
My thing
it's
is,
not a money thing.
I feel like there should be an entirely different method to how the police approach a situation. One, obviously more training isn't going to help. They've already tried that shit before, and it just so happens that they still love killing niggas. So, instead of doing that, how about we try this? One, remove every single aspect that allows you to be able to incite lethal force into somebody. Stop trying to give these niggas guns. How about you just let them... I'm not just saying let them use the rubber bullets either, because them shit's illegal too. It's literally just a regular ass bullet encased in rubber. It can still kill you at range. It can definitely still fuck you up at range. And I'm also not necessarily saying take away everything to kind of make them seem as if they're not a threat anymore. Because then it kind of just gives people, like, tendencies to do whatever the fuck. We want to be able to try to create a place with peace. But we also want it to be a little more obvious that when a cop tries to go in to kill somebody, that they have the intent to kill.
Cops are trained to fear people, make people fear them.
Cops are trained to make people fear them, but that should not be the sentiment for which we base our police authority. We should be able, like, whenever a cop comes by, you should feel protected. I like the idea of being able to feel protected whenever law enforcement makes their way onto the premises. If I did something I know I have no business doing, of course I'm going to have some form of guilty conscience. I deserve whatever the fuck happens to me from beyond that point. If a cop randomly pulls me over when I'm minding my own goddamn business, and I have no idea what the next step is going to be from beyond that point, if I feel like I'm going to get pulled out of my car and shot on sight for doing absolutely nothing, I do not like that feeling. I do not like the idea of not knowing what happens next. It's just, there's this weird moral compass that hits that makes you think, wow, is this guy's mindset going to be towards fucking my day up right now, or is it just going to be to send me home after not finding anything, or how is the rest of this day going to go? I don't like the idea of having to be sent out of my house with a list of prerequisites a list of shit to abide by to not get fucked up by the cops.
With all due respect, that's on you, unfortunately. Because that's a stereotype that you've given the cops based on what you've seen. I've worked with cops, several in fact, and unfortunately, they're all really, really cool and nice people. They have told me on so many different occasions where they've seen little black boys smoking pot and doing other things they shouldn't, and they're like, hey, let me hold that pot. Thank you. Go the fuck home before I arrest you. And the issue comes with, you can talk about how they should be less lethal. Their training shouldn't be so much go to a situation knowing that you might have to kill somebody. But
actually,
realistically,
I have another
actually, Kevin, before I have a serious, and I don't want this to come off as racial. I mean, Junior, do you feel if cops were, let's just say, completely ease off perception of what they think of black people, right? Anytime they see them doing something that maybe looks suspicious, right? Do you feel if they gave that much leeway, do you feel that people would actually take advantage of that because they know that now they're going to be more leeway and lenient because cops don't want to be perceived as racist or don't want to be perceived as that? Do you feel like people would start taking advantage of that?
White supremacist, Clint's canceled. Done. Easy. Twitter, eat him alive. He's at C-Drizzle65. Get him. Done.
97.
And then, I was trying to keep it from getting canceled, you idiot.
I'm asking this serious.
Yeah, no, you're.
No, I know you don't mean.
No, you're kind of right, realistically, because if I now know that, if we just forced cops to not racially profile me, maybe I can get away with smuggling these drugs. That is. I
feel like that's with anyone.
But I was about to say, I think that's with anybody, because realistically, like
the more you feel like you get away with, you're gonna push the envelope more. Yeah. In general.
But that right there is not the boundary I'm trying to press. It's like when you said, whenever I walk out of the house with this ideology that I'm probably going to get shot. It's just, think about it like this. That same concept could apply with regular people in life. It's like when you walk out on the street and you see a black person, you gotta categorize them in a different kind of thing, right? You either categorize them as that ignorant nigga that literally likes to go out and just punch the fuck out of people just to make a statement, to make it seem like he shouldn't be fucked with. Then you've got nerdy niggas that like to go out in the street and basically talk about Dragon Ball Z and anime all day. You've got those other types of people who are more scholarly, who basically want to progress their life solely on the means of school and the depth of knowledge. You've got all kinds of different categorizations of people, and you have different kinds of categorizations of cops. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I've never met a good cop in my life. I've been pulled over numerous times for different shit. Sometimes I've been pulled over for a ticket, sometimes I've been pulled over for literally no goddamn reason. It all depends on the person behind the wheel, behind the badge, behind the gun. Quite literally, it's just an ideology that can be taught to different people. It's how you grew up. It's not necessarily saying that everybody on the police force or everybody that basically bears a certain color is meant to act out a certain way, because that kind of just goes back into a completely different stereotype. I will never in my life say that I don't like cops, because, again, not all cops are bad. There are some very shitty people in this life, but not everybody should be categorized under that same thing just because of the fact that they wear blue. With that being said, though, I understand where you're coming from, where you say that not all cops are that same way, but you also have to take into account that there are cops that are.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine.
That's like anything in life. There's bad in every
exactly. I still refuse to believe that the entirety of the police department needs to be punished for bad cops. That's just not right.
That's why I said I don't believe everybody. Like, I don't believe every single agency should be defunded. Just the ones that have a serious track record.
So hold on a second.
But that's not the agency's fault. Here's the thing. Now, if you want to talk about that police reform you guys mentioned earlier, about how cops need to be persecuted differently, rather than having a cop who killed someone be persecuted by 4 other cops who are like, I mean, shit happens, bro. Rather, so create like an actual jury based on the citizens and have them decide. That works too. But also, of course, in that same jury mix in past cops, because at the end of the day, those citizens don't know what it's like to be a cop. They don't know. It's impossible for them to think through those lenses because they've never been in that position. So if you want to talk about that cop having a different trial, so that they don't just get away with it every time, that makes sense. But for you to say, no, take $150 million out of these people's salary, I personally think that's a little ridiculous. If you're telling them to change their ammunition, I also think that's ridiculous. Because, dude, there are sometimes those cops are in horrible situations. And the people they're fighting just so happen to have actual guns. So for you to tell them, go outside with this Nerf bullet so that I feel safe when I get pulled over, that's not going to work in every situation.
In Minneapolis, like you said, I believe, it's not believe, they are actually going to basically get rid of the police force, and they're going to have like a third-party
militia
safety group. Which to me, I believe you're basically having open season at that point.
That is trash. That is trash.
Because you're going to be having people that... Because think about, the cops are... you could say it's right or wrong, they are protected by the law as much as they can in certain situations. If you have a third-party group, you think they're going to take the same amount of risk to protect their own life in situations?
Literally mercenaries. They're not...
it's like literally having this... They may have more experience. Like, you're basically hiring a security guard.
Yeah.
And if they shoot someone, they're going to be under the same, law as if a civilian shoots someone. Mm-hmm. They're going to be going to trial and jury, even if, quote unquote, they did the right thing in this situation. I think that's where it starts getting muddy water. Cops should be held responsible. Like, the dude who killed George Floyd, you don't there shouldn't be an administrative leave. That dude should be fired. And everyone surrounding that situation, watching that happen, should be fired as well and prosecuted appropriately.
They're fired and prosecuted, but they're out now. They got out
The
on
fuck you say?
$1 million bail through donations.
Probably through the police.
No, the reasoning behind that is because of the with the three cops that were basically kind of just on standby. God damn it.
They get away with it because they didn't quote unquote do anything. Fine, whatever. Dude who actually killed George Floyd got free though.
I mean, there were still 2 other cops that were definitely on top of this man's body, but that's none of my business.
It's weird, like...
There was really only one
this may
cop that was
sound
spectating.
wrong. I've only seen clips of it. I've never watched the full video because I feel like it's just too hard to watch. It's too hard to watch.
It is.
I don't like watch.
I saw it 6 times.
You know what's the
same
weird
fucking
part?
day.
Is I've seen, not necessarily like looking up, but I've come across like Al-Qaeda beheadings. I've come across like terrorists, like shit like that. But so I just can't imagine watching someone suffer for basically almost 9 minutes, and watching someone beg for their life like that, and just people watching it happen. Like there's something like that's just too hard to watch for me.
My thing is, to what degree do you charge it with first? To what degree do you charge it with first?
Don't ever.
Because the problem is, if you charge it with first degree,
you're less likely to win the
they're
case.
more likely to get off free.
I know.
Type of thing. That's the only problem with that.
I know that's what everybody kept saying. That's why they started up at third and brought it up to second. Yeah. And the thing is, even though now he's been prosecuted with second degree, there's still a possibility that he could be bailed out.
He was.
Yeah, no, he's in his home, like protected.
Yeah, he's vibing.
Like they got hell amount of security around his house.
Of course they do.
Now, basically near the end, so.
But it's
I want everyone to have a final thought that they want to leave for all this going on.
Oh, but one thing about bail, don't worry, he still has to serve time. The way bail works, it just lets you like hang out until
I've never
you get to go.
Yeah, I would never pay for bail.
It's not a get out of jail free card. He still has to serve time.
You go.
But between now and when his sentence actually has to be served, he's just vibing. He's chilling at the crib.
But he didn't have to pay for it, so it's not like.
If he then goes to prison, gets off early for good behavior, chill on probation, that's a different thing. But realistically, no, he still has to go serve his time at some point. There will be like multiple retrials, I can only assume, but
that shit don't make it any better.
Yeah, you're right.
That shit does not make it any better. It's like I still don't understand the concept behind why people with law enforcement. It's like, why would they need to be charged any differently than any regular civilian that goes on the street and does the same exact shit? If I were to record myself kneeling on your neck for a straight almost 9 fucking minutes, I guarantee you my ass would still be locked up with no chance of bail.
No, well, you're 100% right. But what people counteract with that is police, not in that, but more situations than others. There's force that needs to be enacted that normal civilian is not needed. Like, as fucked up as it sounds like. If they're put in situations where, let's just say there's a hostage situation in a bank. People holding people hostage. The only way they're going to really make sure that people are safe is if they take out the people that are holding them hostage. So there's going to be a different type of force that a police officer needs to enact than someone else. It's not right. But the police are protected by law, so are protected by the force in most cases so they can protect the people. But the problem is some police officers abuse that system and use it unnecessarily to take out their own anger, which if you know the backstory between the cop and George Floyd, they actually used to work together back in the day at a nightclub and they used to butt heads together. So that's what also a backstory that makes that situation a little bit more murky.
So here's the issue. The reason why police officers aren't tried the same as citizens is the same reason why Army vets aren't tried the same way as citizens. Because of PTSD. They're put into situations that genuinely fuck their minds and warp their way of thinking. And it's not even just from, like, the actual job of being the cop. From the day they signed up for the academy, they have been trained and created into people capable of taking lives and still going on quite normally.
And I think that's probably the only part where I kind of have some, not in the killings, but in general towards cops is, there's things much less in my life I have PTSD about. I can imagine if I had to kill someone, to like even just shoot someone and kill them, or do whatever to hurt someone physically. Like that's gonna fuck you up over time. Like that's not a natural thing to want to hurt someone or kill someone.
It certainly shouldn't be.
Yeah, and so you're asking these people. I'm not saying to be the kill, but people that have to protect their citizens by protecting them from people that cause harm, type of thing. And so you may have to shoot someone that's on the run and has someone hostage, and you may have to shoot someone, and that, I don't care who you are. Like most people, you're gonna go home and sleep about that night, even if you know you did the right thing. That's still a lot to deal with personally, because you're killing someone's son, or you're hurting someone's son, you're hurting someone's brother, you're hurting someone's dad in some cases. I'm talking about in the right cases.
No, I completely understand.
None of these cases was unnecessary. There's no reason to have your neck, like you have five cops.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you have 5 cops. Why do you need a whole? Why does it take 5 people
to
hold someone down 9 minutes and not just handcuff him and put him in a cop car? I don't get that.
No, that part's completely right.
He was not by himself, so he didn't have to put any extra force. That's what makes that shit even like 10 down words. Like, bro, you have all this extra surrounding. Even if you felt this man was this big threat, which obviously he wasn't because he was complying. You have 4 other cops, bro. You have backup right there. What the fuck are you doing?
My thing is, I can understand post-traumatic stress. I get that. I understand that when you go through training, it is going to be the most rigorous shit that you've ever endured in your entire life, and some of it actually makes people contemplate whether or not they do or don't want to be on the police force, or whether or not they do or don't want to join the military. In fact, that's part of the dividing line between those people that join up and those that don't, because some people just can't handle the pressure and they do not want, they don't want to undergo any of the consequences that follow. But what I don't understand is that with all of the training that you guys have, I mean, first off, trigger discipline should definitely be a fucking thing. It definitely is. That is one thing they practice from the start to the finish of academy, is trigger discipline. Knowing when to and when not to pull the damn trigger. Knowing what situations are necessary and which ones are not. If you fear for your life that much, why the fuck are you here? When you basically sign a waiver saying this is what you're going to be doing up until you finalize, up until you end off that day, when you basically come in here saying you already know what is required of you, why now is there a shift in judgment? I understand you can't just get up and leave whenever you want to, especially not when you're in the military. Niggas get court-martialed for that kind of shit.
You got about a minute.
Oh shit.
So, final thoughts.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Okay, I guess everybody. I can't say anything else. So.
Any final thoughts?
Police reform needed. Make sure police are tried equally. Well, I shouldn't say equally. Make sure police are tried justifully. Because realistically, it's not easy being a cop. No one wants to be a cop. Shit's ass. Don't ever get it twisted. And they shouldn't be allowed to abuse their power, but we give them that power for a reason. Kevin's right. I shouldn't be afraid of cops, realistically, and that's the best way for them to be able to do their job, and for you as a citizen to feel at peace if they do their job incorrectly, to know that they're going to get the justice they deserve.
I'll say, just from a blind spot, don't think just because you date out a race that you don't have racial bias. You can date someone, you can be white and date someone black, and you can still not be 100% not racist.
Can vouch.
I know you can vouch.
Mm-hmm.
But I only said because I keep hearing people, I've dated someone black, I've dated someone out of my race. I'm not racist. Like, you still can have racial bias and date out of your race, but you will only but you will justify it in other ways, and you don't realize it. The worst part is when you just don't realize that you have some bias about some things. I'll just say that. Don't be completely naive to your own bias and your own lack of awareness on things, type of thing. Watch out for your blind spots that you're not aware of, because other people realize your blind spots, even if you don't.
2020 in itself is proving to be a very shitty year for everybody. I just hope that everybody holds together and maybe we can peaceably agree on something towards the end of this. And if not, then we will eventually come to change. That much I can practically guarantee. I do not like the idea of things staying as they are, because at that point it just means we all fought for literally nothing. I mean, I don't want to say we fought for nothing. By this point, it's been addressed. That is what the whole point of all of this protesting is to send a message. We know that change will not be immediate. But we do know that change is required. If we want things to get better, it has to change, and people have to be more open to it. We can't stay closed-minded for the rest of our lives. And I want to bring up more analogies to that, but I don't have the time to, so... Matt, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I think there's one thing we all agree on. We all want to see some ass.
I knew you were going to say that.
Bruh, I felt it in my soul. I'm glad he said it, because I was really for to say, I'm trying to see some dick titties.
I really actually am trying to see, I'm trying to see, like, Chun-Li proportionate ass.
I'm
trying to see some thick bitties.
Video in.
Oh, no, I get, bitch.
I don't know how, like, it's at the red thing, so I'm assuming it was like at 5%. It's probably like at 3%.
Well, you made me think it was just gonna fucking die off right there.
Where is it at?
Josh, I felt that.
How the fuck did you sense a disturbance in the forest to just walk up in here talking about some, I want to see some ass?
Because my nigga likes thighs, like a true animal.
Just send me another one, baby. I wanna see some ass. I wanna see some ass. Baby, can you do it like that? From the front to the back. She said, I don't wanna do it too fast. Till she hit that gas. So I can pump up fast. Had a whole squad getting pumped up fast.
I agree.
This has been another episode of Why It Gotta Be Like That. And
Episode 4.
I do really hope that you guys tune in for the next installment.
It'll be about next year.
Oh.
No, it'll be like next week.
God, Jesus Christ.
Nah,
I thought you meant it was going to be, like, the concept of it was going to be about next year. I was
no,
like, I don't know if we're going to make it that far.
I said, no, we'll be back next year. Like this time.
Oh, no, if you try to podcast it again, you want to make sure we do it before next year. The world will explode in December.
No, we'll be back next year.
You know that for a fact? I know that for a fact.
Just go and see some ass. Make yourself feel better.
Keep your shit
It
tuned
works
in,
for
visit
everyone.
a strip club, de-stress, do whatever you got to do. Just do it now. While you have the chance.
Take it up the ass. Whatever your preference.
Overrated.